So back to Cheshvan, we were talking about the sense of smell, how it's the most godly, divine smell because it wasn't contaminated by the sin, and it also allows us to access our memories and our soul's deepest memories. So our sense of smell is very connected to our soul, to our ruach. Then we also have neshima, which is our breath, which to me connects to our smell, which through our neshima is also one of our most divine bodily senses because our neshima connects us to our neshama. And we spoke about this in Noach also, that when we are flooded and we can't access our soul and our highest, deepest self, our lech lecha, go to your deepest self, because our body is flooded, what we can do to access our neshama is neshima, which is the Hebrew word for an inhale. So when we inhale neshima and neshifa,
think about it. There's the only difference is the yud, which is Hashem.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
between the shema and the neshima.
Exactly.
And it helped. Yeah, I just wanted to say that my son, who's just an Asa, told me, and was very gratified here, that the breathing helped. I told him about breathing.
Oh, you told him the breath work from last week?
No, not the specific. I didn't know about it yet, but just general breath work.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually ask him about the box breathing that you mentioned.
Yeah, so we spoke last week how breathing can also help the Navy SEALs learn breathing techniques or box breathing to help them sleep during crazy high stress situations. Firefighters learn this. Box breathing, where you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold for 4, or other types of breath work where you take longer exhales and inhales, which signal to your vagus nerve to access your parasympathetic nervous system, and to calm your body down, so that you're not in high stress. Yeah. So that is the idea of neshima. Now that also connects, it's a really powerful tool, this Cheshvan, and I think that what we want to do in this Cheshvan is access our neshama, and we want to access our souls, our highest, deepest soul, and all of Cheshvan is connected to this idea of bracha and water, and the way that we access this is through, one of the ways we can access it is through smelling. The Rizal actually says that you should practice to bring Moshiach or something, you should be smelling nice smelling things. There's a bunch of other sources I found about smelling and connecting to our soul, and the way we do this is through our breath and our smell. So we want to focus on our breath this month, and on connecting to our neshama. And this also connects to Menashe, the tribe of the month. The shevet that connects to this month is Menashe, which also is the same letters as neshama and neshima, literally identical, which is crazy. Another connection of Menashe is that Menashe is Moshe Rabbeinu plus Anun. Now, why is this significant? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, was one of the reasons he was unable to bring us into Eretz Yisrael is because he wasn't able to reach the 50th level of Kedusha, which we need to bring in Mashiach, only through his death. And the mountain that he was buried on was Nevo, Har Nevo, and Nevo is Nun Bo. He only accessed the 50th level only through his death, only through his passing could he access it. But who was able to bring into Eretz Yisrael? Yoshua bin Nun, and he had that Nun. And so Menashe symbolizes that level of Mashiach, the Nun, that he was Moshe plus the Nun of Mashiach, the Nun of infinity, of unity, of wholeness, of completion, to bring Mashiach. So another connection to the month of Mashiach. So now there's 2 more connections between smell and Mashiach, because he said that Cheshvan is the month that Hashem saved, empty of all other Chagim, to bring Mashiach. There's a few more connections. One, by the way, another connection to Mashiach is that the Zohar says also that it was saved for Mashiach. Also, Akrav, which is the scorpion, the Bnei Yissaschar says this also could be divided up into 2 words, which is Ikar Beis. That the Hashem, I forgot to mention this earlier, that the Mishkan was, the consecration of the Mishkan wasn't in this month, it was pushed off to Chanukah, and Hashem appeased it by saying that he'll consecrate the 3rd Beit HaMikdash. The first Beit HaMikdash was pushed off to Chanukah, and here Hashem promised it that the 3rd Beit HaMikdash will be consecrated in Cheshvan, will be come down in Cheshvan, and that's what the Akrav is. He says it's Ikar Bayis, that it's the main house, the 3rd house will be rebuilt in this month of Cheshvan. Now, smell, we were talking about the sense of smell, what does that have to do with Mashiach? So there's a crazy pasuk in the Chumash, in Yeshayahu, that says that the Mashiach will not judge through his sight, not judge through his hearing, but he will judge through his smell. And it literally says, how will Mashiach judge people? Mashiach will restore all the Jews to their correct lineage, to their correct, whether they're called Levi Yisrael, through smelling them. He will know where they come from and restore the lineage, the true lineage, to everyone. And so I'm like, everyone shower, because Mashiach is coming and we're going to be sniffed. And the Gemara has a story where actually they had this Mashiach Bar Kochba who proclaimed himself as Mashiach, and many of the Tanaim even followed him. And then they started to they were a little suspicious if he's actually Mashiach or not. And there's been war plays all day. And what they did to test whether he's the real Mashiach is that they they gave him juice to smell, and to be able to see through his smell, he could see where they came, where those Jews, what tribe they were from, and he failed the smell test, and that's how they knew that he's not a real Mashiach. And it turned out later that he was a false Mashiach, and he was killed by the Romans. So that smell test. There's another story about smell and
I
Mashiach.
just think the perfume industry could really like use
Yeah.
this. That'll be very cool.
But it's not the same.
I know, but it's really a cute thing.
You smell the essence. So basically, and I think that connects the idea that smell is very spiritual, because you can, if a person's essence is available in their smell, then
Training or looking for someone. Looking for love.
there's been a lot of airplanes today. It should only be good. So I think that if our smell is connected to our soul, then it makes sense that you're smelling to see the person's soul and where it comes from. So I thought that was really cool. Also, like, there's something about pheromones of people that you could like smell, like that if you're attracted to someone's smell, a lot of attraction to do with their smell. So if someone is like repulsed by someone's smell, it has to do with like who they are. It means that you can't like when you love someone, you're more like drawn to their smell. There's a lot about pheromones and the smell in humans. Anyways, so reach is ruach, neshima is neshama. The other story about Mashiach is that there's a story that the tzaddik, Reb Nachman Mendel Haraducker, was visiting Israel, and they heard the shofar blowing, and he asked what was happening. He said that someone is blowing a shofar on a mountain, and people think Mashiach came, and people believe that Mashiach came. So he opened his window and he took a smell of the air, deep smell, and he came back to see, and he said, it doesn't smell like Mashiach is here. And then they realized that it was Meshuggah, it wasn't really Mashiach. And they said, how did he was said that Mashiach has a certain smell. When Mashiach's here, we're going to smell it in the air. And so the Chassidim discussed, and they said, why didn't he just smell his room? Why did he have to open the window? And they said, in his room, it always smelled like Mashiach. The reality or that, and the energy of unity and Mashiach was always present in his room, wherever he was. He had to open the window and see if outside it smells like Mashiach or not. So that was another idea about the smell and the Mashiach mindset. One more thought on this week's Parsha is that this idea of, we had this concept, how Cheshvan is the nefilah, the nun of falling, and you might feel like you're having this void. And we learned something really deep from this, that the void in our lives, or that falling of Cheshvan, that empty space, the vacuum that might create without any chagim, or the sense of the nun that's bent over, or a feeling of like falling in our lives. There's a story of the Rebbe where he was he was in the hospital getting a shot, and he asked the doctor, is it the syringe or the vacuum that's pulling out my blood? And the doctor told him that it's the vacuum. And he said, that's what I told this one mother. This mother came to me and said that her son is not interested in anything, and he's in a very depressed and not interested state in his life. And the Rebbe told her that it's the vacuum, that those voids in our life, the vacuum is what draws out the blood, that we need, that these falls indicate to us this like deeper yearning, and that's what pulls out the blood. And what this means in our lives in Cheshvan is that if we feel blah or falling or empty in this month or devoid of meaning or passion, that is necessary. That void is that necessary catalyst to draw out the passion and the warmth and that is yearning for more, the yearning to accomplish. So Cheshvan, having this like space where nothing's happening, allows us to have this void where suddenly I realize that I'm yearning for more, that I have goals, that I want to be better, and it helps us have this month, this carve out this whole month where we can plan for the future, plan our goals, make lists of what we want to accomplish, to bring out this yearning that only comes from the void. So that vacuum is what brings out that blood and that fire, and that leads straight into the akrav. So that is really, that power of Cheshvan is a really good time to focus on this like channeling or leaning into this nun, then falling nun, instead of fighting it and saying, oh, I'm feeling depressed, lean into it, feel that fall and say, what does that show in me? The fact that I'm feeling blah shows that I have yearnings, it shows that I have desires, it means that I want something more. What is it that I want? What do I want in life? What do I want to accomplish? What am I looking for? Am I looking for more connection? Am I falling because I want more goals? I want to feel like I'm accomplishing more. I want more passion. That's good. And so it's our time to create our goals, start working on our goals, start making plans, figuring out, writing all the goals that you have in life, and then choosing the main ones you want to focus on this year. What are your main goals? Writing them out intentionally, having them in front of you, and then saying, what's the first step I can do to make that happen, to make that actualize and actualize our potential. So Cheshvan is a really good time to take that nefilah and draw that nun into like the lowest parts, into the deepest parts of our life, and to actualize our highest potential. So that's what's amazing about Cheshvan. And we're going to end off with the Akrav, the Scorpio. Now, Scorpios are known to be very emotional signs. They're water signs. There's 3 of the signs are water signs: the Scorpio, the Cancer, and the Pisces. But from all of them, the Scorpio is known to be very passionate. It's passionate. The Scorpio personality is passionate. And all in this month of Cheshvan, all of us are Scorpios. So even if you're not actually a Scorpio, all Jews tap into this energy of Scorpio in this month. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The Gemara, there's two types of venoms. There's the venom of the snake and the venom of the scorpion. And it's actually, I've heard this, that if a Leo is mad at you, like the fire, if you have or an Aries is angry, they lash out with fire. So they're going to scream when they're mad. They're going to roar, right? Or they're going to have that's the venom of the snake, the fiery, the hot venom of the snake. But when a Scorpio is angry, they're going to more likely ice you out and withdraw and just go cold and silent on you. And that's that icy venom. So there's different ways of being mad. There's fire, and then there's water or ice, like coldness and distance, that they shut down, they like go in themselves, and you're iced. And actually that's how the venom works. The venom of a snake is fiery and it burns, and the venom of a scorpion paralyzes. A scorpion paralyzes and freezes. And so, but what does this mean spiritually? Why is this important? So spiritually it gets really, really deep. And we learned something about Cheshvan. So Cheshvan is the month of more like of water, but also of icy venom, which is actually in Chassidut the worst type of venom. There's a halacha on the Shulchan Aruch that if you're praying Shemona Esrei and if you're davening and suddenly a person is in the middle of davening Shemona Esrei, he's not allowed to move, but he sees at his foot there's a snake or a scorpion, does he stop his prayer and go somewhere safe, or does he continue praying and just pray for the best? So the Shulchan Aruch says that if it's a snake, he continues davening, and if it's a scorpion, he has to stop Shemona Esrei and go somewhere safe, or kill the scorpion. And the reason for this is very deep Hasidically, because davening and passion and avodas Hashem, davening needs passion, it needs warmth. You need to feel something. You want to feel connected. You want that passion in our lives, and to be a living person, you need to have movement, and that's what life is about. A cold body is a dead body, and blood, which is a live body, a heart pumping, creates warmth. And so to be alive and to be able to be considered a living human being, not just a corpse, means to have movement and life and passion. So if you're davening and we need to have that passion, and a snake comes, which is passion or venom that's fiery for negative things. So if you start having, that means that you're middle of davening spiritually, what this means, and you're having machshavos, zaros, which means interrupting thoughts, plans, passions for things that are not Torah. I'm having goals and desires for things that are not good, that I shouldn't be happening during davening. You don't stop davening, because that's a deep message in chinuch. We don't want to stop passion. Passion is good, even if it's passion for negative things. One of the worst things we can do is stop someone's passion. If there's a child that says, I want to do this and I want to do that, even if their passions are bad or not halachic, we don't want to stop those passions, say, no, don't have those dreams. We want to try and find, look at a way to channel that passion to something more positive, but we never want to curtail anyone's passion. That's the worst thing you could do. So even if you're davening Shemona Esrei and you're having passions that are bad, don't stop. Just try and redirect those passions to your tefilah, to your avodas Hashem. And chinuch, a lot of times I feel like that's the worst thing we do to kids, is we see kids who feel like they can do anything. I could be the king of the world and the prime minister and an astronaut, and then some adults or well-meaning adult or older person says, no, that's not actually possible financially, and we stunt their greatest potential. And they have so much passion and potential, and we stunt that, and then suddenly they're like, oh, I could never do that, and they don't believe in themselves, and then they don't do that. And the most successful people are the ones who believed in their passions, and they never stopped dreaming. They never stopped having desires, whether or not they're positive. It doesn't, as long as there's passion, we can channel that. We can try and channel that passion into more positive areas. But if a person is davening and instead of having passionate like venom of the snake, they're having a scorpion, which represents coldness and apathy and just like distance and coldness and not caring, and they say, what's the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know and I don't care. Ignorance is so if you have I don't care about anything, that's when you have to stop your davening. You can't continue your avodas Hashem if there's that coldness of the venom of that snake, of the Cheshvan, and we have to of the scorpion. We have to stop that and completely get rid of that coldness. But I've also heard, so that's the idea of what the scorpion represents in coldness. And in our lives, we want to, as much as possible, transform that. So what do we do with this coldness of the scorpion? Would we use it for the positive? How do we take that for the positive, or channel that cold venom for positivity? First of all, we can use that cold apathy or venom for things that are not good. We could channel that coldness of I don't care towards anti-Semitism. For example, if there's people who say all day they could scream, and I just channel on my Scorpio, like icing you out, I don't care. Apathy, just being completely blinded and not triggered and not bothered by what the other people in the world say about us. We know that this is our land. We know that this is our Torah. We know that we're Am Yisrael, we're Netzach. We know that Hashem, that everything, that Jews are forever. We know what's right, and we just can ignore and tune out, so we can channel that coldness towards what we shouldn't be doing, towards other things that are not about Hashem, towards outside noise, all the noise that's trying to get us down. We can turn on a cold spot to them. And also we can use that void or that like empty, cold feeling as a breeding ground to be the catalyst that causes us to yearn for more passion. So when we feel coldness in our life and we're sad about it, we say, well, what passion and yearning do I have that I want to fuel from that? So I think I'm going to end there. L'chaim. So may we have Moshiach revealed in this month. May we be able to connect to our neshama through our neshima, through our breath, and to have the ultimate redemption very soon. The number 8 revealed this Cheshvan this year. L'chaim. Thank you for joining, and if you enjoyed this, share with your friends, and I'll see you next week.